Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sold with Updike Pugh.
I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh.
And today in episode 345, we are going to be talking about a really cool reimagined ranch-style house in the 75218 zip code. This is at 10919 Ridgemeadow Drive, and you are going to want to hear about this one.
And speaking of zip code, in the Market Watch, we are going to feature 75218, and there's some really interesting data. Right now, the median sales days is 10, which is the fastest that this zip code has seen in the last 10 years.
And we're going to talk about all the details of those numbers in just a minute.
And we're also going to talk about three places that locals love in this area of East Dallas. And then we're also in Homeownership 101 going to talk about the White Rock Lake Master Plan community and what that actually means for homeowners' property values. So 75218 is a zip code that has a beat all to its own. This neighborhood is a very home ownership dominant neighborhood. There is really low turnover, and some of the key neighborhoods in this area are Casa Linda. We've got Old Lake Highlands. So they really are some of the key neighborhoods of East Dallas.
So the median days on market is 10 right now, and that is down from 15 last year. So you've had a 33% drop in days in just the last year. That is the fastest pace in this zip code in several years.
So one of the things that we're watching is what the median sales price is. So currently it sits at about $620,000, which is actually down 5% over May of 2025. But the context of this really matters because zip code carries a large spacing of prices. The other thing too is that this is not indicative of the direction of the market right now.
And there were 30 closed sales in May, and that is down from 40 a year ago. But May 2025 was an unusually active month for that zip code. 30 closings in one zip code is a really, really active month. This is normalization. It's not a slowdown. One
of the things that we also like to do is look at a sales indicator, and that's going to be the percent of median to sales price. And right now it sits at like 98%, which is just about flat versus last year as well. This is really telling sellers that they're almost getting full list price, and it tells buyers that there's not a lot of room for negotiation, and that if you're thinking of buying something, you really need to be serious with a good, strong offer.
And 10919 Ridgemeadow Drive at $849,900 is in the upper tier for this zip code, but it's got design level renovation. It's been completely redone. It's on just over 9,000 square foot lot. And it is priced this way for a reason. A 10-day market at 98 cents on the dollar, this market's going to move quickly.
I would agree. So when we kind of when we take and summarize this information, what we're talking about is a neighborhood that is moving pretty quickly. You've also got, for the last 3 years, one of the fastest median days on market. Sellers are getting almost list price, which means everybody has to be really focused. This is a really great neighborhood and takes a really smart agent to get you the house you're looking for. And
you know, the numbers tell you why you want to live in the neighborhood. Let's talk about some of the things when people get there.
So this isn't this neighborhood centers probably, as does a lot of East Dallas, around White Rock Lake. And everybody knows that it's 9 miles around, perfect for hiking, biking, taking the dog out for a walk. And that there's also trails that take you to and from the lake. So a lot has been focused on this, but what you don't really realize is that there's two different rowing groups out there. So the first one is going to actually be the White Rock Rowing Group, and the second one is going to be the Dallas United Crew. And both of them have really great infrastructure for recreational, but there are some really great competitive rowings that actually happens. I believe some of the private high schools actually use this facility as well for their training. I think when we think back, St. Mark's, I believe, is out there. So this is an interesting element that you don't really realize that's out there because they practice either first thing in the morning or late at night. But they also, and I've done this, is they do have weekend training where you can kind of like a 101. And we had 8 people in the boat and we rowed for 2 solid hours. It was amazing. The only thing is my shoes didn't fit, so I felt like I was fighting it the whole time. But otherwise, it was a really cool experience.
One of the other things that is just become commonplace is the Lakewood 4th of July parade. This has been going on since 1962. That's the year I was born, so this has been going on for a really long time.
Wow.
This has an 8 a.m. 1 mile fun run. The parade itself starts at 10. It starts at Lakewood Boulevard and Cambria Boulevard, and then it finishes at the Tokelon tennis courts. It's got floats, marching band. This year's theme is Party Like It's 1776. It's the 250th, America's 250th birthday. Free to attend. The Exchange Club foots a lot of the bill for this. And this is the kind of tradition that tells you really more about the neighborhood than it does anything else.
It's better than any data point out there. One of the other things too, if you're like me and like to eat, which I always do, I like to find out where the farmer's market is. And so right now there is a good local market out there. And this happens every Saturday at 8 a.m. and it happens at 1450 Old Gate Lane. This is a really interesting 501c that has put together a group of vendors that are probably within 150 miles. So you can get everything from cheeses, you can get the eggs, all the produce that you want. And they've also kind of backfilled this with a lot of great artisanal vendors as well. So this is a great place to stop. Again, it just adds to that entire package of what it's like to live in East Dallas, which really is amazing. Well, that's enough about the neighborhood. Let's go ahead and jump right into this house. This is going to be 10919, and this house is probably one of the best houses in this area in this price point that I've seen in a long time.
So you have a really great front yard, a really great courtyard. This is set beneath a bunch of mature oak trees that Lockwood's known for. This is a 1968 ranch. It's about 2,200 square feet. It is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and it's priced at $849,900. Fully renovated. They've done such an amazing job with this house.
So this is one of those houses that was not done by a newbie. This is an actual company that does this work, and you can tell because it starts in the front courtyard and carries all the way through to the powder bathroom. Everything is thought out, and everything is actually on the same page, so it doesn't feel like things have been hodgepodge together. It makes sense of some of my favorite things, like this bistro in the right here in the kitchen. I think that it's smart when it has all these elements working together. And so when I look at the finishes on the plumbing, when I look at the light fixtures and they all match and they're all singing the same song, you really begin to see how much this house works together.
And they really pulled like light fixtures match one another. The ceiling fan with this being almost a hugger and white just blending in is so appropriate. There are fancier fans out there, but that's the right one for that room.
Well, I like that's exactly right. So in houses, I prefer it to disappear unless it's a really high ceiling, and at that point you can kind of stretch it out. This is actually based pretty much on like a C floor plan, so it allows for you to use the indoor and outdoor. And as you can see here, this renovation perfectly continues into this master bathroom as well. I like when the actual mirrors are framed rather than taking up the entire wall back there, which allows you to do, as you see here, 3 sconces. Again, as I was saying, this is that C floor plan where it kind of wraps around and creates this easy covered patio. One of the great things about this is that they've actually, as we say, continued on with the patio as well. So this is a great way to spend your summer and a great way to start some memories.
So this is 10919 Ridgemeadow Drive. This is a 3-bedroom, 2 full bath, 1 half bath, 2,253 square feet, priced at $849,900.
So we want to say thank you so much to Rebecca Levy for allowing us to feature this home. One of the things that we like to do is in the comments below, you're going to actually see a link to this. There are pictures that we didn't use. Please click on those, look through this entire thing. You can zoom in and on that map and get an idea of where some of those locations were that Jeff and I were talking about. And if this is something that you'd like to see, just let us know and we'd be happy to make that happen. All right.
So now let's jump into Homeownership 101. And I think what we're going to talk about is pretty appropriate today.
It is, because it is so close to the White Rock Lake. So this is actually a really interesting time for the White Rock Lake because, as Jeff and I have seen in other portions of Dallas, when the city really gets behind a project and puts together a very straightforward plan, it can have huge changes to the surrounding home values.
Absolutely.
I think when you and I think about this, I think of Katy Trail, and I think how the Katy Trail was just a railroad, an abandoned rail line that then was converted and now connects the AAC all the way up to Knox Henderson easily. And that everything that backed up against that really began to see this enormous increase of up to almost 40% in some instances that backed up to the trail. Even even like Jimmy and Corey's old condo, it didn't back directly up to it, but we counted it was 100 yard to a trailhead. And so these are elements that like give value that you didn't expect. Clyde Warren Park would be another one. All those high rises that came in there, and you're getting like $1,200 a square foot now in some of those locations. This didn't happen. And so I think that it's important for us to talk about what we see on the horizon. And this is one of the big steps forward that Dallas has taken.
It really is. So this is the White Rock Lake Master Plan. People kind of heard about this, and I think they kind of filed it under park news when they really should have thought about it as real estate news, because that was a mistake to think of it that way. When a city makes a formal long-term commitment to a plan like this, it benefits that surrounding neighborhood, just like you're talking about, but it affects it long-term. It's not just like a one bump.
And I think in the past that they've kind of put like smaller projects together and not had, they weren't seeing off the same page, or they weren't seeing consistently off the same page. And I think this is it. But I think that one of the things we want to be clear is this doesn't mean that automatically everything's going to change. This just means that they have the path. And what are some of the things, though, that they're going to be changing?
There's trail expansion that's going in off of the 9.3 mile loop around. You've got some shoreline stabilization, which is really needed, especially along the Garland Road side, where they've had to close a section of that off because of the shoreline falling off. There are potentially some elevated boardwalks around. There are some vista view spots that they're going to do. It's good long-term stuff.
It is. And I think that, the house that we just featured on this show is also in line, as is that neighborhood of Lakewood, to really see a big bump in what could be because of the proximity to these trailheads that are creating. This is actually some exciting time for the White Rock Lake area, and it'll be interesting to see how it changes over the next 10 years, I guess.
So, it's the plan that's being executed. It's part of it has started, part of it is not. The section from Lothar to Winstead, I think, is closed right now. I think it's going to be closed until September, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So sometimes people view those closings as going backwards, but then when they open is really when you see the big benefit from it.
I think that, yes, I agreed. And there will be growing pains. And in the meantime, you can just enjoy the dog park there at Mockingbird. That's a good one.
Yep. And if you're buying somewhere like Ridgemeadow today, this is part of what you're buying into. It's not just the house, it's the neighborhood overall.
Absolutely. So we hope you found this interesting. Tune in for next week when we've got a really great house that is over, where is it again, Jeff? Marbrook. That's right.
North Dallas.
There we go. This is a really great house. So we hope you've enjoyed this week's show. And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.